Hi everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. Welcome to my partial Thanksgiving special. Today we're going to make Southern cornbread dressing. This is my mom's recipe, God rest her soul. So what you're going to need is chicken broth, a deboned chicken. This is the broth that I cooked this chicken in, so it's very, very concentrated. I actually cooked the chicken in chicken broth. So this is like, if you can see this, super concentrated, very tasty chicken broth, okay? So we're going to use a lot of that in this bowl to kind of moisten down our stuff. I have got a pan of white cornbread. My pawpaw did not like yellow cornbread, and I don't either. It is not good in dressing, in my opinion. So white cornbread. 2 or 3 onions, totally up to you. Those are totally optional. Got garlic powder, ground sage, poultry seasoning, which is very important, and celery seed. Now we're going to use a whole lot of celery seed because it's a very strong flavor, and salt. Half a loaf of white bread. Use some really good white bread. Taste different white breads. Make sure that you like it because you're going to be able to taste it, I promise. So the first thing that we're going to do is just cut our onions and throw them into the bowl with the chicken. And that, like I said, it was just a chicken broth that I cooked the chicken in. Hope you guys have big plans with your families. You're going to eat food, of course, in your quarantine bubbles. Quarantine bubbles matter. But if you quarantine, your family quarantines, you know, you're all in one bubble. I don't see the problem with having a good dinner. So go for it. And I'm just going to dice this onion. Not super finely, but not in big chunks either. And just put it in there raw. I like to do this a day ahead, sometimes 2 days ahead, and just let it sit in the fridge so all these flavors can really marry and your dressing can get nice and moist because it does have a tendency to dry out. Now when I bake it tomorrow, I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees until the top of the dressing just looks crispy and brown. Everything that I'm putting in it is pre-cooked, except the onions. So not a huge worry. I'm just going to toss those right in there. Now it is going to get messy because I do use my hands to mix this. I think that's the best way to break up the chicken and the bread. We're going to start with a little bread, and it's a certain texture that we're going for. You will see when we get there. Get these onions chopped, and then we can move on to other more interesting things. I hope you guys watched my other video with my granddaughter where we make these beautiful little turkey cupcakes. She did a great job on those. Again, it's just like a Thanksgiving extra special for you guys, so you can hear them. She's just the cutest thing ever. Again, once I get these onions cut and in the bowl, we can move forward. Look, they've been out in the yard. They're coming in the house. Pretty cool, right? All right, dumping my onions in. I should probably get some pepper too. So let me take these onions over there and throw them away. And I will be right back with some pepper. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm back with my pepper. I have a table grind black pepper, so yeehaw. Now this lovely pan of cornbread, you see how thick it was. I just cooked it in some bacon grease. I 86 the Crisco. Just break it up as you add it to your bowl. I think some of it just went to the other side, but that's okay. And you want that beautiful crust on it too, because that's going to get wet whenever we start putting our broth on there. And it's going to be delicious. Taking about another quarter of the pan. I'm just dropping it in here. Because after all, this is cornbread dressing. I want it to have cornbread in it. I'm not a huge fan of the taste of yellow cornbread, so like I said, we go with white. Now my hands are really dirty. It did. It jumped out of the bowl. Good, I could spot that, huh? Now I have about a half a loaf of just white bread, and I'm just going to break that up the same way I did the cornbread. Just over the pan here. Don't smash it in your fingers so it doesn't become like a big bread ball. That's not what you're looking for. You're just looking for some good, beautiful white bread. And once you get this made and mixed, you can add oysters to it. You can chop them up and add them to it. They'll cook tomorrow or whenever you decide to cook it. Just 350, and I usually do about 40 minutes. You have to take it out of the fridge about an hour before you cook it, just so it can come to room temperature. You're not putting like a cold dish in a hot oven. That's never good, especially if you're using a glass one, which I am. You see my bowl starting to get really full. This is my big bread bowl, so I'm only going to add about 2 more slices, and then I'm going to start mixing, adding my seasonings, giving it a nice go round. And you can eat this because the chicken is cooked, okay? So we are going to taste it as we go. Let me just move that cutting board over there. So I have my pot of chicken broth, which is still just a little bit warm. That's the way I like it. And my big bowl of dressing mix. This is going to probably collapse to about half of that. Now remember, this is a giant bowl. So you may think hey, you're putting a lot of seasoning on there. It's really not. Because it's going to get distributed down through this bowl. Now for this, I don't use a whole lot of garlic powder. There's probably a teaspoon. I do use a lot of sage because it really is the flavor of the sage that makes this amazing. I know, I can hear you. You're like, what? That's probably like 2 tablespoons of sage. And it's just regular ground sage. I may add more later. I don't know. We'll see. And as far as celery seed goes, just about 1/4 of a teaspoon, if that. You'll be able to taste it, I promise. Especially once you pour that hot broth on it. Salt. Remember, you can always add more of this stuff, but you can't take it back out, baby. You can't take it back out. This is just some poultry seasoning. I think I have about 1.5 tablespoons left in there. I'm adding it all. From here out, if I want some more flavor, I will just add the sage and the celery. So now I'm going to take my broth and I'm going to put a few really generous ladlefuls right into my bowl. And yes, it's going to break that bread down, but that's what I wanted to do. So that was probably about 2 cups. Now just get in there with your hands and start churning. Make sure you mix those onions and that chicken. I swear Southern cornbread dressing could be like a whole meal all by itself. It's a little dry. I'm probably going to use all of that broth. I would probably say it's half a gallon, maybe 3/4 of a gallon. It's a lot. But this is almost going to look like a bread soup by the time I'm done. It's very, very good. I do like to have a little bit of extra broth that I can just like ladle over the top once I get it in the pan. You'll see what I mean. And then again, I'm just going to cover it and pop it in the fridge overnight. So it doesn't really dry out tomorrow as it bakes. Oh, we're getting there now. And this is more of a feel thing. You'll know when you get it right because it changes texture. If you like lemon with your chicken, feel free to throw some lemon zest in here. That would be really delicious. We tend to stick with the traditional stuff. Again, this is my mama's recipe. I'm not changing it too much because this was one of my favorite things she made on the holidays besides her yeast rolls, which were also equally amazing. So I am really close to the texture that I'm looking for. There's a nice balance of bread and chicken and onions going on. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It looks a mess, but it tastes amazing. So I don't know if you can see. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Kind of looks like that. Nice pieces. I'm dropping them on the counter. But this is going to look a little bit soupy by the time I'm done. So probably 2 more ladles in here, and then I'm going to put some more over top before I throw it in the fridge, like I said. Oh, that's beautiful. There we go. And I believe that is exactly the texture I'm looking for. Now it's time to taste it. This was my favorite part. I used to go into the kitchen and my mom would give me bites of this over the counter so I could taste it. Once you get it seasoned right, that's when you can add your oysters, and then you'll put it in your pan and just put a little more of that broth on top. I think I found a chicken bone. I did. Look at me go. Woohoo! It's another reason to churn it with your hands, just in case you left one of those chicken bones in there. Okay guys, I'm going to hold this bowl up so you can kind of see the texture of this. Looks like that. It's a little soupy, almost like a bread chicken stew. Just pop a bite in your mouth, because everything in here is cooked, like I said. So you can eat it right in the bowl. It definitely needs some salt and it definitely needs some sage. So I'm going to go wash all this off my hands so I can touch my spices again. I'll be right back with you guys in a minute. Alright guys, I'm back. Clean hands. I have my salt. Definitely need some salt. And I'm going to use the rest of the sage that I have in this tiny little container. So pretty much just covering the top of it. And I'm guessing that was about a tablespoon. But now I'm going to mix again. So my hands are going to get gross again. Isn't that fantastic? I think I have some more of this somewhere. I hope so, because I think I'm going to need more than I have. So I'm going to mix, and then I'm going to taste it again. And this is a constant process. The whole time you're making this stuff, you mix, you taste. You mix, you taste, you adjust, you mix, you taste, you adjust. Until you get it just right. And the right flavor should be lots of sage, a little chicken, salty, oniony, with a little hint in the back of your mouth of celery. So you don't want your celery like overpowering everything. So yum yum. I think I got enough sage in it. I can definitely taste it, which is awesome. Got that chicken flavor. Got that onion. Onion's very mild. It's going to go great with some cranberry sauce. So, here's what we do. Bring our pan. And we just pat it into our pan. Now, if you have a big family coming, use the whole pan of cornbread. Use the whole loaf of bread. I didn't even use the whole half loaf. But you're probably not, because quarantine, right? Right? Right. Okay, so just pat it down in the pan. So the cornbread's kind of funny that way. It's going to taste very different than your yellow cornbread dressing, okay? White cornbread does not taste anything like yellow. It's a totally different experience in your mouth. And this is one of my favorite dishes ever. I love it with some jellied cranberry sauce. Love it. I can just heat it up and eat it as is with jellied cranberry sauce, or with some pinto beans. Oh my goodness. Make a big old pot of pinto beans. Oh, yes. And my daddy is, I just found out he watches my channel. I can hear him right now nodding. Sitting in his chair going, pinto beans and dressing, yes ma'am. So just like that, aren't they beautiful? Now I don't care if I jack some stuff up with my hands because they're nasty. So just take about a half a ladle full of that beautiful broth and pour it right over top of your dressing. Just like that. Yes! So it's a little bit liquid on top of there, and overnight that may soak in, and that's what you want. You want that top to be protected when you go to put it in the oven. See how that is? It's not a lot, just a little bit. So I'm going to cover these and pop them in the fridge, and then tomorrow, like I said, I'll take them out about an hour, hour and a half before I bake them. Put them into the 350-degree oven until they're nice and brown on top and the edges look crispy. Maybe take 30 minutes, maybe take 45, I don't know, it varies. This pan probably won't take as long as that one. But I hope you guys try this recipe. If you do, please come back and leave me a comment. Let me know how you liked it. If you didn't enjoy this video, I'm sorry. We can try again next week. Make sure you subscribe, and if you liked it, give me a thumbs up, okay? Give it a share on social media. Tag me. I'm Right Joe Michaels everywhere. I will see you guys next week. Happy Thanksgiving.